and welcome to this week's episode of Against All Odds. My name is Daniel Coker, your regular host, and this week is a bit of a different conversation. We've been having conversations in the past with older people, professionals, people in business, people in finance, but today we've got a guest who barely turned. I'll let him tell us his age in a few minutes. But he's so far our youngest guest on this program, and he's somebody that I have mentored, I think, for the past 4 or 5 years, and he has an amazing and incredible story. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to our podcast this week, Cyrus Asiamah.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Pronounced it right.
Yeah? Good. Are you comfortable? Are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Travis, so tell us, how old are you, and where do you go to school?
I'm 13 and I go to school in Springwest Academy in West London near Hounslow.
Okay, the Springwest Academy near Hounslow. Okay, what are your favorite subjects in school?
Geography, history and PE.
Okay, geography, history and PE. Okay. And have you been nominated for any awards?
Yeah, I was recently nominated for maths, geography, RE and another subject, IT and character education. IT
and character education, right. So, I mean, I've known you for quite a few years, and that's about 4 years or so. And one thing that struck me about you was your interest in anything that was business related. I mean, one of the things I hear you saying is, "We've got to make money, bro." I mean, you say that all the time. You know, where is this interest in business? Where did it come from?
Well, I always wanted to make money, but I always believed that I could do it myself without the help of anyone. So I just wanted to prove to myself that I can do it if I put my mind to it. Okay.
So, just tell us a bit. I mean, do you come from a family of business people, or are you just, your parents just own, like normal people? I mean, what's the story?
Well, my mum's involved in different aspects of business because she does accounting and other different stuff, investments, stuff like that.
Okay, right. Okay, is that where your interest in business started?
Yeah, most of it.
Okay. And what do your friends think about your business acumen? Because I know you're always you're on your phone, you're wheeling, you're dealing. You know, what do your friends think about that?
Some of them are impressed. Some of them want me to teach them how I do it, because not everybody makes money at a young age. So most people just sit around doing their own stuff. But I decided to make money at a young age because that's what I wanted to do. Okay.
And in terms of your teachers and all that, are they supportive of your entrepreneurial activities?
It really depends if I tell them. I have a geography teacher. I told him about what I do and he was quite impressed, and they're quite supportive, yes.
They're quite supportive?
Yeah.
Okay. What was the first business you ever did?
The first business I ever did was selling t-shirts online. So I wanted to create my own brand.
Okay.
And I tried that, it didn't really work out, so I tried many other things.
What other things did you try?
I started selling bikes, so I bought them used bikes at a cheap price, but then I would sell them at a higher price to make profit. So I would find them online, or I would find somebody who doesn't want the bike anymore. Then I would sell it at a higher price somewhere, so maybe I would get like £20 to £30 profit.
Oh, okay. And how did you go about? You just go online and find, how did you find customers for your products?
Well, there was a lot of marketing places near where I live, so like for example, Sunday market, you could go there and you could sell different stuff. Mostly people want to buy bikes in the Hounslow area a lot, so it wasn't really that hard to find a buyer.
Okay. Okay. And what did you find that people would buy from you because you were young, and you've got like a baby face, or they just didn't care?
Well, I think that if it was at a good price, then they would be interested in buying, as long as the price was right and they were available to purchase.
Okay. So you talk about your first business being trying to create your own brand and sell t-shirts. What was the name of the brand, and what did you learn from that experience?
So I'd done it quite a long time ago. I was about 8 or 9 years old. I can't really remember the brand name, but I used a platform called Teespring.
Okay.
And I remember the logo was a tiger, but I kept trying to advertise. I didn't really advertise it, I was just trying different things.
Okay.
Because at that time I was looking online how to make money at a young age. So there were many different ways, so I thought, let me just try this way. But it didn't really work, so I stopped using that method because I didn't really make any income from it. So I just moved on to looking onto other ways to make money.
Okay. And then, like you said, you moved on to the bikes, and now you're doing, maybe tell us about your latest project, which is kind of why I brought you on our podcast.
Well, I know how to code. I started learning how to code around 11 to 12 years old. So I started, because I used to play a game called Roblox a lot, and then I would ask myself, how do they make those games? Because it had a whole variety of different games. So then I googled it, and then I saw that they code the games, like the structure of the games, it's all to do with code and different stuff like that. So I started teaching myself about different types of code, and we were learning some about it in school, so I already had some knowledge. So then I just started finding people who were interested, and then they started paying me to teach them.
Okay.
And it was mostly distributing different types of software and explaining to people how to create games or how to learn how to code or different stuff like that.
Okay. So you basically found some of your mates and you charged them money to show them how to code.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And how did you? Okay, so I know you basically also have found, or you create solutions. You basically code and find software solutions. And you sell these online. Can you just tell a little bit more about that?
So I find buyers. So I look at the trends of what people are doing. So before, I used to look on how popular different things were. So for example, there were different games people are interested, but it was mainly Roblox. So I would use different platforms like Discord. Then I would join servers. Then I would ask around. I would see what different types of people get up to. So the different things they do, how they do it, why they do it, and why they like to do it, and why they're interested. So then I'd find different customers, then I give them a price range, and then they pay, and then I teach them.
Okay, so it sounds like one of the things that you've identified very early on in your entrepreneurial journey is that it's very important to do your market research. Can you just tell us a bit more about that? Just go a bit deeper into that, a bit more about how you conduct your research into what could move and, what could work and what.
Mainly, if something's popular, you're going to see it on social media a lot.
Okay.
So it kind of impacts you. So it tells, like for me, when I see something popular, for example, back in the day, like Roblox,
okay,
which I think is still popular today, but back then it was really popular. I look at it and then I see, like when I learned how to code, I saw that I can make money from teaching people how to build games in Roblox, for example. So I just look at different popular things, and there are also other things like people started doing Minecraft and all those other things. And it's not just games, people just want to learn how to code in general because they want to dive deeper into it. And some people, they just want to create their own different things, like the person who created Roblox, for example, or people who create software, they make good money, so I guess people just wanted to make money as well and be able to create anything they wanted to be.
So I know that you've come up with a solution that you sell online, and my question is, how do you determine the price? Because you told me about this solution that you came up with that allows people to do something on mailing or something like that. Remember? Can you just tell us a bit about that? And also, how do you determine the price? I mean, you're only 13 years old. How do you determine what price to sell it at?
So normally you don't really see that many people online doing like lessons like what I do, for example. So there's no particular price you give, but you ask them. What I would do is I would ask them how much they're willing to spend instead of giving them a price.
Okay.
'Cause for example, say I was gonna charge them £10, but they were gonna spend £40 or £20. I wouldn't really know how much they were gonna spend, so I would never offer first.
Okay.
Or let them offer, then I'll determine my price.
That is so cheeky and so clever. And what, they just bite? I mean, somebody would bite at a certain price.
Yeah, it always happens.
Always happens.
Yeah.
Always happens.
90% of the time.
90% of the time. So what makes you so positive? Because you're very unassuming, but you have a certain positivity when it comes to business. Because I've been with you for quite a few years, and I've just seen you go from strength to strength, with this attitude of positivity. Why do you think it's important to have a positive attitude when it comes to business?
Because if you have a negative attitude in business, it's gonna bring you down, so it won't really motivate you to keep going and keep going. Because there have been times where I've made no sales at all, and I thought, let me just be done with this and just focus on all my other things like school and football. But when I start focusing on all of them at the same time, and business with positivity, it just keeps going well, and then you just keep making sales and sales and sales. And it's just good really, because you start making money at a young age before the majority of people in the world. So it just makes you feel good in general, that you've done something good and positive with your life.
Okay. So another thing that I'm hearing from what you're saying is that you've got to keep going. You've got to keep the fact that you've had some failures. I mean, I've had many business failures. I've lost colossal amounts of money. I've gone into different activities that I had no business going into. But from every experience, I learned something. So what can you say that you learned from some of the negative business experiences that you had?
For example, say I would try out a different strategy and it didn't work once, but then it worked, but then it didn't, but it wasn't consistent. So I would just dive deeper into it and analyze what I could do to make it more effective, so it would profit me more, instead of just forgetting about one strategy, then focusing on different, more than one, or something that wouldn't help, for example, make any profit at all. So it's all about finding different strategies and just utilizing different methods to make profit in business.
Okay. So where do you get your inspiration from? Because I mean, you seem to think of many ideas and all that. I mean, what's the source of your inspiration?
It really depends. So sometimes I just wake up and feel like I just want to make money, I want to be rich, I want to live a good life. it really depends. Because sometimes it's not somebody who's motivating me, it's me motivating myself, just wanting to live a good life and make money. And not just that, but in general, like help your family and just live a good life, basically.
Okay, so you're basically driven by your desire to improve, improve the quality of your life and for those around you as well.
Yeah.
Okay, but my question is, how do you find ideas? How do you, do you just kind of wake up and then something just clicks in your head, or do you kind of, every time you're on the phone, you're kind of looking for trends, you're looking for, different things that are going on? I mean, how do you find what to spend your time on as an entrepreneur?
Most of the time, I just wake up and I've had an idea. If I see a good idea, I'm gonna try it out, because there has been times in the past where I've stuck to one idea, but then I've seen a different idea, then that's made me more profit than my original idea. So if I utilize both, it's more profit. It's 2 times the profit, instead of just using one strategy, for example, which will still make me money, but it's not as effective, and using many different strategies, which will make me more profit.
So is there anybody that, successful business person that you admire, that you want to be like, that is like your role model?
When I was young, I had different role models, so I couldn't really remember all of them, but one of them was Bill Gates.
Okay.
When I was young, I saw that he developed software at a young age and he sold it to big companies, which made them profit. So that was one of the, I wouldn't say idol, but I liked his story.
Okay.
So what I was doing was quite similar, because it was to do with software and I was at a young age doing it. But most of the time, it's just me. I don't even have to be motivated to someone. For example, when I say that, sometimes myself, I'm just a motivation to myself instead of looking up to someone.
So how do you take payment for your services?
I use different payment methods to take it, like PayPal, Cash App, but one popular one I use is Bitcoin.
Okay.
Because I can sell Bitcoin and it profits me really well. So I still make money, plus the profit I've made I can put into my business, or I can save it up. I can really do anything I want with it.
Okay. So I know you're only 13, but what is your vision for the future in terms of where would you want to like to see yourself in 10 years' time?
Playing for England as a striker.
Okay. I didn't know that aspect of the story. So you basically want to be a footballer. 'Cause I know you play football as a hobby, but I didn't know that you wanted to take it as a career.
I mean, I've always wanted to be a footballer, but some days I just wake up and say, I don't think I'm good enough. But when I do have good days, I just think about it and think to myself that I just have to stay positive. Like, for example, if I'm having a bad game, sometimes I think to myself, I'm not that good. When I have a good game, for example, I score 2-3 goals a game, or I make good assists, or I do well for the team, I think to myself, and then I think and I say to myself that I can do it. I just have to put my mind to it.
Okay. So would you rather be? You're saying that you want to be a professional footballer, but if that didn't happen, right? Because you know what, life isn't. Life doesn't follow a steady trajectory. Okay, and I've known many people who pursue careers in sports, but then never quite make it. On the big stage. What else could you see yourself as doing apart from playing football?
I would say I'd be really good in the business industry, especially different stuff like real estate, trading, and other business opportunities. Because I've thought about it and I know that because life is not that easy. So if I wanted to be a footballer or a basketball player or a tennis player, I know it's not gonna come easy, so you always have to have a backup, for example, whether that's a doctor or scientist or different stuff like that.
Okay, cool. So, what do you think about crypto and all that? Because these days a lot of people are getting involved in crypto. I don't know very much about crypto, but you did mention about Bitcoin. What do you know, and where do you think that's going as a payments, whatever?
I think cryptocurrency is a gamble because it goes down and it goes up a lot. Because it's decentralized, so I'm pretty sure that nobody really controls it.
Okay.
So it just goes up and down whenever it wants. So it's a gamble because it's not like you putting money in a normal bank.
Okay.
Like say you put £200 in a bank.
Yeah.
With crypto, it can go from 200 to 400, or it could leave you in minus. It can go from 200 to £50, or it could go from 200 to £0. You don't know, so it's a gamble. But there have been times where it's gone up a lot. Because crypto, it crashed. It was at about 13,000 after it crashed, and then it went back up.
Okay.
But it's been at different price ranges like 36,000, 40,000, 10,000, different prices. And there's also other cryptocurrencies, not just Bitcoin, but Litecoin, USDT, Ethereum, Solana, Dogecoin, different cryptocurrencies. So it really just depends.
Don't you think that people are promoting that as a scam? Because I know lots of people who have dabbled in crypto and all that sort of stuff and have lost loads and loads of money. Don't you think it's I know you said it's a gamble, but don't you think it's open because it's not regulated, and it's decentralized. It opens it all up to all kinds of characters, and people could lose a lot of money. What do you think about that?
I would say professionals know the risks. People who are getting into it, they don't really know the risks. So, for example, I had like £10 in my crypto account after selling most of it. And I look at in my wallet, crypto wallet, and it's at like £2. So it's gone down instead of going up because I thought it would go up, but it went down. So people who are not experienced, for example, because I don't trade cryptocurrency, but I know a bit about it, but I wouldn't say I'm experienced.
Okay.
But professionals know that there are risks, but I don't think everybody knows that it's risks. And there have been different scam coins.
Okay.
People would make fake coins.
Oh, really?
They
Okay.
would get you to purchase it, thinking that. And most people, they fall for it, unfortunately. But most professionals know that there are risks with crypto. It could go up and it can go down.
Okay. So what do you talk a lot about profits? Okay, what is your concept of profit? To somebody who's watching, a young person your age, what is your understanding of profit?
My easiest way to explain profit, I would say, alright, for example, say you buy some new Air Forces or a tracksuit, for example, a Nike Tech Fleece or a Nike bag. Say you buy a Nike bag at £20, for example, and you buy it from JD, and then you've used the bag for quite a while, you don't want it, so you decide to sell it online, for example, to somebody, and you sell it for less the amount. You would sell it for less because it's not brand new. So as you were using it, it decreases in value.
Okay.
So you wouldn't make any profit, for example. But say you bought a used phone, for example, an iPhone, which is broken, the screen's cracked. For example, say an iPhone 14, you bought it for about £150 with the screen cracked. You take an investment of about £70, you go fix the screen, you run tests on it and make sure everything's working. Then you sell it for about £300 to £400. So then you've made profit because you've made an investment to buy it for less, but you sold it for more.
Okay.
But obviously it's business, so you're not going to make profit all the time. Just like with crypto, you could put £10 in and magically you could get £30 the next day, but nobody knows really. So profit's just essentially making extra money from a down payment investment, in simple words.
Okay. So listening to you, it's one of the things I learned very early on, that it's possible, because a lot of people talk about they want to do business, they want to do this, they want to do that, and oftentimes they say they don't have capital. Okay, they don't have capital to get started, right? How important do you think it is for people to have capital? Because I mean, I've started businesses before where I've put in virtually zero investment, and made lots of profit, as you described it, and it's not every business that requires a huge investment, but some people are just stuck in their minds that they need help from somewhere. They need someone to give them capital, but listening to you, it looks like you've started, you kind of look at problems, you find solutions, and then you find ways of generating money and generating profits around those ideas, even though you might not have capital. How important do you think it is for people to change their thinking into realizing that sometimes you don't need anyone to help you? You can get started regardless.
Yeah, I think people think that they need a lot of money. I think the concept with that is people think you need to put a lot of money in to make a lot of money. But people put small amounts of money, and if it's luck or they just know what they're doing, they make big profit. For example, even just getting a little job maybe, or pocket money, for example. I mean, I don't get pocket money, but most people will know where I'm coming from, even like just saving a little bit. For example, if you want to go buy a used bike and then flip that to make more profit, say you buy at £20 used and then you sell it for about 40, 50, 60 pounds, you'll make profit. But in business, it's more of a gamble, so you don't really know what would happen if you perform a certain action. For example, make an investment of £1,000 or 2,000 or 10,000 or zero. You can still make money without money, but it's more convenient to have a little on the side as backup. But it's not everybody, because I know, for example, I have invested no money at all at times, but I've made a lot back, even though, and when I say I've made a lot back, I kind of refer to investing quite a lot, but sometimes I don't need to invest anything, because most of the time I start with zero, but I make maybe 100, 200 pounds. But that just proves that you don't really need money to invest all the time to make more money.
So the reason I asked that question is that one of the reasons why we're doing this podcast is to educate people. And one of the things I've learned is that it's always important to try whatever you're doing first, and have a track record. And when somebody sees that, okay, fine, you've tried something, you've made an effort, you made an effort to build a system, to do something, and you've gotten so far, you maybe, you've sold 10 units or something, right? But then you need to scale up, because in business, you can't keep operating on a micro level. At a certain point, the business has to be scalable. Okay, when I say scalable, you've got to be able to take it from 10 to 100 to 1,000, to 10,000 to 100,000. It has to have that capacity to grow. Okay, so my thinking on that is that for people who are thinking of side hustles and all that, instead of asking and expecting people to help you and to give you money, because nobody's going to give you money like that, prove that you've had some track record. So for instance, with you, you've made some inroads in your entrepreneurial journey, and it's easier to tell your story, and listening to you at 13 years old and your understanding of business fundamentals is easier to support you to scale up. Because for instance, there might be people who are watching this who see your potential, and might want to invest in you, invest in your in time, knowledge, experience, exposure, and all that, and then suddenly the whole thing kind of blows up. So for those of you who are watching, I think this is one thing that we can learn, from Cyrus, that you need to try things out first. You need to test things out. You need to validate concepts and all that before you sort of ask for outside investments. So, Cyrus, what do you spend your money on?
I mean, I spend it as an average 13-year-old, so.
What does an average 13-year-old spend his money on? I know you got a fancy phone, and you just treated yourself as well to. Tell us what you treated yourself to.
I mean, I like KFC and different things like that, so.
Okay.
Most of the time I save my money, but I know there's money there, so say if I want to get a takeaway or buy trainers or clothes or accessories like that, I know I can buy it because I have the funds available. So stuff like Nike and Adidas, football boots, different stuff like that.
Okay. Because I know you just got an electric bike as well. That's really cool. Got that last week?
Yeah.
You liking it?
Yeah.
Loving it? It's good to have money, right? Okay, so what do you think of AI, and how do you think it can you can employ it at some stage to enhance your business?
I think artificial intelligence is unique in its own way because people are already integrating it in businesses. For example, in my opinion, when you go to, let's say, Asda or Tesco, the self-service checkouts is a form of AI.
Okay.
How it tells you what to do, how it's all a machine, and it's slowly replacing people's jobs. Because now there's self-driving cars and different stuff like that. So if I had a business, for example, where I advertise, say it was a business marketing or affiliate marketing company or something like that, instead of employing people to send out emails, marketing emails, I could get AI to do it for me, which would save me more money and more time. Instead of paying people a monthly wage, I spend less than they make in an hour on AI to integrate a business, which would help. So I think AI in the future is going to grow because they've already started integrating it into cars and machines and factories. So I think it's going to go to a next level in the future, in the coming decades.
How do you, just listening to you, you seem to have a lot of terminology, like you're just talking about AI and integration and all that. Where do you pick all of this up from?
Most of the time we learn words like integration in school, but sometimes I just think to myself, how do I even know this? But sometimes I just see that I probably learned it at a young age. That's how I know I'm unique in my own way, because I know different stuff. I started coding at a young age. I'm different from other people. So I just know that the knowledge I have is what makes me smart and good at business. So it just really depends what type of person you are.
So what skills are you, or what aspects of you would you say are areas of weaknesses that you'd like to improve? Do you have any weaknesses at all that you'd want to improve?
I mean, as a human, we all have weaknesses, so I would say I'm good at negotiating, but I want to integrate more different strategies, so different strategies to make more money, because sometimes business is slow, it's fast, sometimes you don't want to do it, sometimes you got to focus on something else. So I would say thinking of new strategies, even though I know I'm quite creative, sometimes you run out of things to think of. And sometimes when you do think of something, it doesn't really have a big impact. And not everybody will think like you, which makes it good. for business because it's unique, but sometimes other people will come up with an idea which is already out there, so it will impact your profit of making money. But if you think of something new, then just like Apple, for example, or smartphones, there were never really smartphones before. They were just normal phones with buttons. Then somebody thought of smartphones, and now literally every single person has a smartphone now. So it's just thinking about different ideas and different strategies to integrate in business.
So you mentioned a very important point there, that a lot of people have smartphones these days, and for somebody thinking of going into a business, how strategic is that, considering that, like I said, millions of people everywhere? I mean, when you sit on a train or a bus, everyone's kind of looking at their phone. Everybody's, constantly have their heads buried in their phones. How would you say that that model plays out to a possible potential business in terms of reaching a mass market?
So I make money mainly from my phone, so I don't believe that you need special equipment just to make money. But the idea of smartphones, whoever created it was smart because it's unique and nobody thought of it before. So now it benefits everybody because people use smartphones to pay bills and different stuff. So anybody who's thinking of going into business, who thinks that they need special laptop or setup, can just make money from your phone. Because I use my laptop to make money, but mostly all my payment sources are on my phone. So it's just about thinking about unique ideas which will make you money. And not only that, but if you think of a good idea, you get credited. So, and then you thought about that idea, it makes you feel good.
So what could you say to anyone who's watching this program, and either a young person or a parent, who's got a young child who's demonstrated some entrepreneurial traits? Would you say that people should try things? Because it looks like you tried different things and you're not afraid of trying things, and I've tried so many different things, and a lot of them have failed, some of them have worked. How important do you think it is for people to try things and to be, to not be afraid of failure?
If you're afraid of failure, everybody's afraid of failure. I know I am, but if you keep staying at the same point, you're never gonna finish a race. Like I always told myself that, for example, if you're running in a race and you stay at the same point, you're never gonna finish. So in business, if you have an idea and you never try it, you're never gonna know. For example, somebody could have thought of a business idea, something could have told them, invest in this, for example, invest in Bitcoin, it's gonna go up. For example, nobody could have told them, they could have just felt, if I do this, it will profit me, I know it will. And then they're just too afraid to take that risk. And then they find out that if they took that risk, it would have profited them a lot. Or if they thought of an idea, and if they put it out there, it would have profited them, but then somebody else takes the idea or the credit. So if you don't take that leap of faith, then you're gonna stay at the same point your whole of your life.
So just going back on that point, what I've experienced in life is that we often come across people who just talk. They talk, and I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do that, but they never do anything about it. They never do. But you seem to be, because I've known you for the past 4 or 5 years, and even from that age, I've seen you. You don't talk very much. You're very quiet by nature, but I see you doing stuff. I see you using your own initiative. I see you, looking for opportunities to grow and to learn and to improve. How important would you say it is for people to use their initiative?
Well, it really depends. If you always have special thoughts, for example. If your mind's always telling you to do something and you ignore it, you're never really gonna know where it could take you. For some people, it's just a natural gift. Like, for me, I know I'm good at IT and geography really well. So when my mind tells me to say something to the teacher, for example, or tell the teacher this, or give them an idea about, let's say, deforestation or high income countries or newly emerging economies, for example, which we're learning in school at the moment, you're never really gonna know where it's gonna take you. So you gotta trust your thoughts sometimes and trust your instincts.
Okay. See, that's very interesting, because you said you gotta trust your instincts. How do you train yourself to trust your instincts? Because I do that as well a lot. I mean, just to give you an example, this podcast was something that I started by accident 3 months ago. I was on a trip to Portugal, private trip to Portugal for my sister's birthday. And then I just had a gut feeling. I can't explain it, but I know it when it happens, or when I get that feeling. I just knew that it could work. So I just acted on that. How important is gut feeling to entrepreneurial success?
So you gotta trust yourself. Many people say it, and like you said earlier, many people talk but they take no action. I believe if you talk too much and then you don't do too much, you can't really call yourself doing well. You can't really tell yourself you're doing well, because then you're just lying to yourself. If I'm in a business and I'm making money, but I have ideas and I just talk too much, say for example, somebody brags about how much they make in business, but they brag but they take little action, they're not really going to be proud of themselves. They're going to be living a fantasy basically. Just like, so you gotta trust your actions more. And in business, it's all about different ideas. Because you could think of an idea and then you could put it out there and you could be a billionaire by the next day. It really depends.
You mentioned earlier the importance of saving. I mean, you're quite young, but you already, your thinking is that people need to learn how to put something aside. How important do you think saving is as a lifestyle?
I think in order to spend, you need to save. When you start developing the habit of saving, you'll know what to spend it on. Because I know sometimes when I made, for example, my first £100 or £200 from business, I wanted to spend it instantly. But I learned that if I save it, by the time I need it, I'll know what to use it on. Because there's a saying that saving gets you rich, not spending. Because spending drains your money, but saving, it builds it up even more and even more. You could put £100 in a jar, then keep doing it and stacking it up. By the time you know it, couple years, it could be a lot of money. So I think you need to save in business, because you never know when you're going to need it, and you just have to develop the habit of saving instead of spending.
So just going back on the point you just made, that sometimes you need to save to be able to take advantage of opportunities, isn't it? Because some opportunities come up and you just wish you had that resource, but you spent it, isn't it? So it's very important to save so that when the opportunity comes, you'll be able to take it. So Cyrus, if someone were to give you £10,000, what would you do with it?
I would invest it in a line of business which I know is doing well at the moment. So, for example, let's say software engineering. If I know I'm doing well in that, or for example, a bike business, or let's just say a shop or a clothing store or a brand, I would invest it in a line of business which I know is profiting me, instead of trying something completely new. Because sometimes you have to try something new, but if somebody gives you the opportunity, it's better to invest that in something which you know's made you profit and you know you're good at, which will make you more money.
Okay, that's a very interesting point. I'm actually surprised that you said that, because a typical 13-year-old who gets asked this question might say, I want to spend it on this, I want to spend it on that, I want to spend it on that. But the first thing you said is, I would invest it. Why do you think differently? Why do you think differently to other people your age?
I just want to do well in general. So if I believe investing will profit me, then I'll think of investing. But if I believe in saving will profit me, then I'll believe in saving, for example. So it's just really believing in where your mind tells you. Because sometimes your mind can tell you one thing, but you know it's the wrong thing, but your mind just wants to take that risk. For example, somebody might want to invest in Bitcoin, small amounts at a time, but your mind's telling you to do more. Because it's just a natural concept that if you take a risk, you never know what will happen, but if you don't take the risk, you won't know what will happen either. So it's just following what your mind tells you, but knowing what your limits, having limits, and knowing when to stop and when to start in business. So it's really just about knowing when to invest, when to save, following your ideas, your creativity, and different stuff like that.
Cool. So just as we basically prepare to round up, can you just tell a little bit about automatic programming interfaces, APIs?
So API, to people who are not technical, so not everybody who knows about coding and stuff, API is an application programming interface. So in my opinion, my easiest way of saying what API is that API consists of different requests. For example, if you're downloading an app on Windows or a Mac, or on a MacBook, for example, on Mac OS, or on Linux, or Raspberry Pi, there's an API behind it communicating with the different softwares and backgrounds in the processing of your computer or laptop or phone. For example, even an app like Twitter or Instagram or Snapchat or any of those apps, there's an API behind it, which in simple words consists of all the requests, which in order, because you need requests to make an app. For example, even using, for example, the phone app, there's an API behind it. There's really an API behind all apps. But most of the time, when you install an app, you're not really gonna think about the API. Sometimes the app won't work. Could be something to do with the API. Sometimes developers, they get the source code from an app. Sometimes if they're testing an app, they'll use the API, and you could get APIs for different things. So if somebody's creating, let's say, Uber, for example, they most likely took the API from Google. Google would sell it to them at a small price, because Uber, for everybody who knows that, when you use Uber, it connects you with drivers in your area. So it's very similar to Google Maps without the cab taxi aspect. So it connects you to your nearest driver. Like Google Maps, for example, it tells you where to go. So there's really a whole API behind it. They're all connected. So it's just mainly requests in order to communicate with the different apps and softwares and operating systems, which make the app and software or different types of code run together.
That's very detailed and very insightful. It's actually application programming interface, isn't it? And is there any tech company out there that you admire? Any tech company anywhere in the world that you admire, and why?
I would say Microsoft, because they developed many different things, Windows. I would say Apple as well, because the whole concept of a smartphone is very smart. Because I don't know, if you drop your phone, and if you're unlucky, you'll see that your phone comes into two pieces. You'll see all the different parts in your phone.
Okay.
But sometimes it's just a different software. Because there's software installed on all of our phones to make it look like how it is, like the home screen, the app, settings. Sometimes you need to update your phone, so you gotta update the software. There's really just coding and software behind nearly all technology devices.
I don't know if you know the story behind Microsoft and how it started. Do you know it? The story?
I know that Bill Gates, he developed different types of software, I'm pretty sure, and he sold it to big companies.
Okay, so let me tell you the story. I mean, for those of you who are watching and might not be aware of this. So Bill Gates was a freshman in university, and very gifted guy, very intellectual, very clued up, was in coding and all that. And he was approached by there was another company, I'm not quite sure which company it was, I think it was Intel or one of these companies, and they were working on a project which needed operating software, and someone on the project team mentioned that there was a guy called Bill Gates, and this guy, was really clued up, would be able to help them. So they contacted him. And Bill Gates said he didn't have an operating system that could work for them, but he knew somebody who did, and he put them in touch with a guy called Gary Kildall. And many of you have probably never heard of Gary Kildall, and I'll explain why. Anyway, so this team flew to meet Gary Kildall, and the day that they had arranged to meet, they got there, and Gary Kildall was a no-show. He hadn't bothered to wait for them. He had gone flying in his private jet and had left his wife, who knew nothing about the business, to deal with these executives. And frankly, they were very, very, very disappointed. So they called Bill Gates and said to him that this guy who you referred us to is he's a joker, And what Bill Gates did at that moment defined the success that he has become today. So he told them that, okay, hold on. He knew somebody who was doing something with an operating system, and that he would talk to him and get back to them. And he spoke to a friend of his, a very clever guy, who had manufactured something called a QDOS, Quick Dirty Operating System, and he bought it from him at $50,000, came back, repackaged it, and sold it to these guys, as a solution. And the clever thing that he did was, instead of them paying him a lump sum of money, he told them that he would take a cut for every machine that they put the software in. How clever that was. Can you imagine? What would you have done in that case? You had that kind of opportunity to make a lump sum of money, right? And you said, no, don't pay me 10 million or 20 million, right? Rather, every machine you put the software in, I'll take $10. What would you do?
Looking back, I would probably go for the large sum of money.
Okay.
But now that I think about it, where I am now, I would prefer money over time. So getting a commission is probably better than taking one sum, because you don't know how far it's gonna go. Because you could take, for example, 10 million in a deal, but then the software, it becomes popular. And now, for example, Microsoft is used, Windows is practically used in every office. Every single IT company, they have a form of Windows or Microsoft. Every school, every office, library, different places which are in the tech industry, they use Windows. So I would probably take a commission looking back now. But if I was, say, a year ago, 2 years ago, I'd probably go for one straight up deal instead of a commission.
Cool. So something that we've started to do on this podcast is that we ask our guests to dedicate their episode to anyone that they want. And as we wrap up, I'd like to ask Cyrus, who would you like to dedicate this episode to?
I would say the young people who want to make money but they don't know where to start. I would say just find something that you know you're good at but can make you money, whether that's washing cars, for example, because I have done that before. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You could make £10 from washing a car, and you could save that money, or you could use it to buy, let's say, if you wash 5 cars and you get £10 each, you get £50 if you wash 5 cars and you get £10 each. Then say you buy a used bike for £30 with that money, and you save the £20. You put it in a jar or piggy bank or whatever you use to save it, and then you sell that used bike for £40 or £50 or £60. Say you sell it for £60, and then you spend £20 on the bike. You make £40 profit. So then you save that profit, and then you just keep repeating the process. So if you have an idea which makes you money, you should use it, even if it's washing a car, helping out at a cafe, which will make you money, doing paper rounds, something that will just make you money. If you don't know where to start, and once you've started making money, you can start looking at different things that you know you'll be good at. Because I never knew I would be good at coding, and I would be selling lessons to people on how to code and make games and different stuff like that. But you just got to try what your mind tells you to do.
So what do you think of this program that we're doing and trying to bring people like yourselves on and basically share your stories with the whole world? What do you think of what we're trying to do?
I think that is a good cause, so a podcast. So this is my first time being on a podcast, so it's alright for a first time. I think it's quite useful when people see the videos. It might motivate them or inspire them to do what they've been willing to do, but they just don't know where to start.
Good. How have you found this conversation? Because I know, like I said, you've never done this before. You might have been wondering how's it all going to go, and were you nervous? Or you just chilled out?
I was chilled.
Chilled out. I like that. Cyrus, thank you very much for coming on our podcast. And ladies and gentlemen, if you've enjoyed this episode, I'd like you to do 3 things for me. I'd like you to leave some comments in the comment section below. First of all, then I also like you to like this video. It's very important that you like this video, because that's how the algorithms work and pick it up and distribute it. And then I'd also like you to share. And one thing I forgot, you've got to subscribe as well. Okay, we're trying to build a subscriber base of at least 500 people by the end of June. And your subscription can help us to achieve this target. I know it might sound small, but we started small 3 months ago, not knowing that this was even going to be possible. And it looks like, we're on a roll here. So please subscribe, like, share, and comment. So thank you very much, and thank you very much for watching, and see you next week. Cyrus, nice one.